Here's the host of Good as Gold, Nick Grovich.
Hi, this is Nick Grovich. We're live today, so if you have some questions, give me a call, 602-324-1510. If you're outside of Arizona, it's 800-293-5366. A lot going on. If you've been watching the metals markets, it looked like gold was headed to $1,000, and suddenly yesterday, for probably the 10th time, Yellen came out and said interest rates are going up, and I guess I don't know why everybody's surprised, but everybody seemed to be surprised, and gold went up $20, platinum went up about $30, silver went up. It amazes me that every time she comes out and says the same thing she said 3 months ago, the markets react to it, and I don't really understand it, but that's what's driving the markets. For quite a while, I've been telling you I thought gold, silver, even platinum were probably going to head lower before they turned around. Today we're up to about $1,170 on gold. And if you have some gold you're looking to sell or you've been thinking of getting out of, it's probably not a bad time to lighten up, because I really believe you're going to see it a lot lower than this. We'll come back to the dollar and the gold in a little while. What I wanted to talk about was IRA accounts. This is the season. We're coming up on tax time, so a lot of dealers are pushing the IRAs, the gold, silver IRAs, the bullion IRAs. And, sometimes I get calls about the IRAs, and I don't know if they really make sense for everyone. It's a big business for dealers. I know some dealers do 30, 40, 50% of their business just simply selling IRAs to people. And I think part of the allure to the IRA is people, of course, love saving tax money, but I think people wrongly believe that since it's going through a trustee, that someone's watching what they're buying and they're guaranteed to get at least a decent buy when they buy something in an IRA, because you assume that you have a trustee watching things, you have regulations, you have basically the bank and the government to a degree involved in it. So I think people just assume if they put their money in an IRA account with a third party, that somebody's looking out for them, and that's not really what happens. One of the things you have to think about if you have an IRA, and I'm not an accountant, so I'm going to talk generally about the IRAs. If you have questions about them, you should talk to your accountant first about the tax consequences and whether it makes sense for you. But I just want to talk about just some general factors that influence the IRA. I hear about these day in, day out. I do handle a lot of IRAs. I usually end up getting people who want to sell out and find out that after they've purchased their IRA, their dealer isn't real excited about buying it back, so they're kind of stuck with coins in IRA and they don't know how to sell the coins. But it depends on a few things. The first thing, of course, is how long you plan to hold your IRA. If you have 10, 15, 20 years, maybe it's a good idea. I mean, in that time frame, you're very likely to sit through another bull market. But it seems like I talk to a lot of people that are in their 60s, late 60s, even in their 70s, and they don't have that long before they have to start taking distributions. And if you had to take distributions over the last few years, you've really gotten beat up on it because, of course, gold and silver have dropped like a rock the last 3 years. I mean, we're down 40% on gold, and we're down, I'd have to do the number, 70% on silver from the high. So, if you're sitting on gold in your IRA and you're thinking the gold market's going to turn around, bail you out, I mean, you might get lucky. Anything could happen. Anything could happen in the Middle East. There's always a chance the government will do something, and as far as the dollar goes, they'll try and push the dollar back down in value. A lot of people are betting on that. The strong dollar is very bad for commerce. It makes goods in the United States a lot more expensive, and that's why you're seeing the Europeans are now copying us, and they're doing quantitative easing of their own. So right now, the dollar is just very, very strong, and it's just not something that's going to turn around overnight. Just like when gold went up, it took 14 years for gold to peak out. So I don't know why people think the dollar is going to peak out in 6 months or 3 months or a year, whatever the time frame is, and just all of a sudden turn around and go down. why are you putting money in an IRA? A lot of people do it because of the initial tax savings. Of course, you save taxes when you put money in the IRA. If you get a Roth IRA, you're going to save taxes when you sell your bullion, if you have a profit, of course. But you know what I don't get about putting gold and silver in an IRA is part of the reason you would put something in an IRA is so that it appreciates tax-free. And if you own any of the metals or coins, if gold goes up or silver goes up, you're not paying tax on that as it goes up anyway. So if you just own the gold and have it in your safe deposit box or in your personal safe or at home or wherever you store it, it's going up tax-free anyway. So the only thing you're getting are those initial savings. You know, what's crazy is people buy it because they don't trust banks. I mean, people buy gold and silver because they don't trust banks. And then you're buying an IRA and storing it at a bank and having a bank and financial institution in charge of it. And to me, it doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense. You're also storing it with a bank. So if you're really worried about a collapse of the dollar, having your money in a bank in Delaware when you're in California doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It's big money for the dealers. A lot of dealers will talk to you about rolling over your annuities. They'll talk to you about rolling over IRAs you may have with a stock brokerage. And it's simply because there's a lot of money in it. If you try and go out and start an IRA, I believe you can only put $5,500 a year in there. So it's not a lot of money, and that's why you're going to find people are going to try and talk you into rolling over the IRAs you have. And all I can tell you, before you just jump out and do that on an emotional whim, talk to your accountant or talk to your financial advisor before you just throw money away. I think I've talked about this before, but I had an accountant in town here, and he had a client who was talked into selling an $800,000 annuity and putting it into a metals IRA. And I think I figured out, I'm guessing at the numbers, but by the time he paid the fees involved in buying the coins, plus the penalties and the taxes, he was probably lucky if he walked out with $300,000 worth of gold. So gold has to nearly triple just for him to break even. So I don't see the logic in it. I just don't see the logic. Now, one thing that you're going to find is if you talk to most companies, what they're going to be pushing is proof gold, proof silver, and that's one of their favorite things because there are regulations and they specify what you can put in that IRA. And the American Eagle is the choice. That's what most dealers choose. They want to put the American Eagles in there, but they want to put the proof coins in there. And the reason they do that is because you're going to probably pay 30, 40, 50% markup on those coins. Proof coins probably are a good buy right now, but if you're paying $2,300 an ounce for $1,200 worth of gold, it's not such a good deal. If you're paying $1,300 an ounce, it's a much better deal. Okay. A lot of people are ending up with these proof coins, and they're buying them because they're a collectible coin, and they're buying them because they think that they can't be confiscated. And if you have it already stored in a bank, it's already out there. Everyone knows when you start taking money out of your stock account or you start taking money out of your annuity, those transactions are already going to the IRS. So it's not something you're doing on the quiet side. It's not under the table. It's not something you're hiding from anybody. So you just really have to think of why you're getting into a metals IRA, and you really have to take a look at what they're trying to sell you. 5 seconds, I know. Make sure that you just have gold eagles that are based on the price of the metals. Don't get into the proof or collectible coins.
Once again, here's Nick Grovich.
All right, I'm back with you. I'm trying to talk about IRAs, and the reason I'm doing that is I get a lot of people this time of year that call me and ask questions about their IRAs. if you decide you want to have an IRA in precious metals, some of the things you need to be aware of are that the pricing is not regulated. A lot of people think since they have a trustee and the type of coin that you can buy is regulated, that the whole transaction is regulated. And that's not true. The trustee is not a fiduciary. They are simply overseeing the transaction. They're basically just storing your coins. It's really not a lot more than that. One of the problems I run into, I have a client in Florida who has to take a distribution each year. And 1 year we'll try and take a distribution, and the trustee will base the value on what the price of gold is. Then the next year we'll do the exact same transaction, taking coins out of the same account, and they'll value it based on what the value of the collectible coin is. So, for example, on a proof gold eagle, at times they've had very high premiums. Way back when gold was $900, a proof 1 ounce gold eagle was going for $2,300. So it can make a huge difference when it's time to take distribution. And what happened to this client, like I said, 1 year they did it one way, and the next year they valued it a different way. And although we were in touch with the trustee, we confirmed everything with them, we sent them invoices, we had everything documented. After the fact, they came back and said that he did not take out enough. In other words, he was about, I don't remember the exact number, it was only $3,000 or $4,000 shy of what his required distribution was, and he ended up having to pay a pretty big fine because he didn't take out the full distribution. And it's kind of crazy when you think about it. You have people running the show and taking care of your coins, and frankly, I don't know if some of them really understand what they're doing there. Now, one thing you can't do is you can't put St. Gaudens or Liberties or Indians or any of the collectible coins, the numismatic coins, in an IRA. I know there are some dealers that are selling self-directed IRAs. The self-directed IRA was set up years ago so that people could put real estate into self-directed IRAs. And what's happened, and again, it's just to facilitate selling coins, is that a few enterprising dealers have taken that framework and decided that they would sell self-directed IRAs. I've talked to my own CPA, and I'm not sure. I'm just not sure how well that's going to hold up if the IRS ever comes to you and starts asking questions. I've had quite a few people locally who had these self-directed IRAs, and we helped them put it into a regulated IRA. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but we helped them put it through a registered trustee just so they wouldn't have that problem. And it was interesting because they had the coins they had in it were not even approved for IRAs. So, I think they dodged a bullet because I don't think they're going to have to answer questions because we got it straightened out for them. But I don't know about you. I don't want to be the test case for the IRS when they come back. You're going to pay huge penalties. You're going to pay a lot of fines, and the upside just isn't worth it. So again, I'm not an accountant. I would just have your accountant take a look at it and sign off if that's what you decide to do, because the fines can be very, very big. Looks like I have a caller. Roger? Roger, you there?
Yes. Hello, Nick.
Yeah. Hey, Roger. How are you?
Good. I just had a question about rhodium. I'm kind of interested in it. I've been looking at its price action over like the past 30 years.
Right.
And boy, it seems really low now. And I was wondering just how liquid is it? If I were to buy some, do you sell or purchase it?
We do trade in rhodium. I like rhodium. It's not, it's a lot more speculative than gold and silver, although I guess, the last 3 years everything's gone down, so it doesn't really matter that much.
Right.
They sell it now in bars. Baird and Company makes a 1 ounce bar.
That's what I was looking at.
And they're very liquid. What you're going to find is the spread's a little bigger than it is on gold and silver. You're probably going to have maybe, I'd say maybe a 15% spread between the buy and sell. Where on gold and silver, you might have a 5 to 7%. So your spread's bigger, but it is just as liquid. You can buy and sell it with a phone call.
Okay. I'm really curious because I was at a a dealer in town, a local big one, and he had told me that he'd never even seen it in all his years. And I just figured, well, maybe there's just no market for this. And if I were to buy some, I might have a lot of trouble, buying it first and then selling it when the price did appreciate.
Well, it used to be really difficult to trade in because it used to come, it used to come in a vial and it was in powder form. And the minute you took delivery of it, you lost $400 an ounce because as soon as you took it, even if you didn't open it, they want to re-assay it or re-verify it when they get it back. So it was $400. And then if you wanted to get it made into a bar, an actual metal bar instead of the powder, that cost you $400 too. So you're talking about basically a $1,200 ounce of rhodium, and you're going to spend $800 just to get it in physical form. So I don't remember if it's 3 or 4 or 5 years, but it's fairly recent since they start actually making those bars. And those bars they're very easy to buy and sell. So I think it's a good play. I think it's a fun play. It's if it pays off, it's going to be a big payoff, and if it doesn't pay off, I don't think the downside's more than 20 or 30% at this point. I mean, it was. What was it, $12,000-$13,000 an ounce? Right now, it's just under $1,200 an ounce. So, if you like to gamble a little bit, I think it's a good buy.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm in my early 30s, so I was just for that. I got a lot of time to hold it.
Yeah, I mean, for you, I don't think it's a bad thing as long as it's, like I said, money you could gamble with a little bit. But if you're in your early 30s, you've got time on your side, and like I said, the payoff's going to be big if it pays off.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I love your show.
Yeah, if you give the office a call, they'll be glad to price that out for you.
All right.
And the number at the office is 480-553-5282 in case you want to call them. So I was talking about the IRAs. If you have questions, it doesn't have to be about IRAs. It can be about anything. Just give me a call. It makes my life a lot easier when you call in and ask me what you want to hear about instead of me trying to guess what you might want to hear about. So if you want to call, it's 602-324-1510. Where was I? I was talking about the coins that go into the IRAs. So you have to really be on top of your IRA. You can't depend on your trustee. I had another gentleman who bought an IRA. This is going back a couple of years, and he had bought from an online dealer who I frankly had never heard of before. And I don't remember the exact number of ounces of gold he bought, but let's say he bought 180 ounces. He sent his money to the trustee, and basically the trustee is supposed to release the funds after they get delivery of the gold. Well, I can tell you, a lot of times they release the funds before they get your material. And what happened with this gentleman, he had called me and he told me what he thought he had in his IRA, and he just wanted to liquidate it. And when it came down to it, after I talked to the trust company, he was short, I don't remember if it was 50 or 60 ounces of gold. So the trustee had gone ahead and paid this online dealer whatever the dollar amount was, and did not receive full shipment of his gold. So he was out. At the time, it was about $100,000 that he was shorted. Now, luckily, the time period he bought very low and gold had gone up. So he came out breaking out even. He didn't lose money on it, but he should have made $100,000. And the only reason he didn't make that $100,000 was his trustee just wasn't watching out. And when we pushed them on it, they just took the stance that they're not a fiduciary. They're just facilitating the purchasing and storage of your coins. So here's a guy who's out $100,000 simply because the trustee didn't know enough to count how many ounces of gold were received. And then on top of it, they sent this online dealer a check before they got delivery.
Nick Grovich.
Okay, I'm back with you. I was talking about IRAs. I guess the one thing I would tell you is if you have an IRA and it's in anything but just bullion coins like Maple Leafs or gold bars, it's really worth getting a review of your portfolio right now. You can call the office 800 221-7694, and ask for Don or Carl. They're at the office, and they can give you a review of what you have. The last thing you want to do is wait until it's time to take a distribution and find out that you're holding the wrong coins, find out that they're not worth what you think they're worth. If you look at your monthly summary, they generally will tell you how many ounces of gold or silver you have, and different companies do it in different ways. Obviously, some will tell you the supposed value if they have any collector's value. For instance, if they're proof coins or if they're dated eagles. Some of the early date eagles and half-ounce gold eagles do have collector premiums. We've talked about that before. But if you really want to see the worst-case scenario, just take how many ounces of gold you have times whatever the spot price of gold is, and that's the worst-case scenario. That's where you may be standing. Unfortunately, that's a lot of times that's half of what you might think it's worth because of the markups and the fees involved in it. So if you have an IRA, I would really urge you, get a review on it. Make sure you have what you think you have. Make sure you own it for the right reasons. Otherwise, just get out of it and do something with your money where it's going to appreciate tax-free and you're going to get the full benefit of an IRA. Now, right before I left the office, Carl handed me a catalog. And I talk about some of these coins a lot, and I thought it was kind of interesting. He and I were kind of laughing about it. So, and here's why I'm getting to this. I see people who buy from this particular company all the time. They think they're buying really rare, really investment-grade coins. And, some of the coins are really fun, but the prices that you're paying are just crazy. Here's one of the ads in here. Wanted. Jesse James stash of Morgan silver dollars. So right off the bat, it makes you think that you're buying coins that Jesse James had. And as I read through here, it says the most notorious outlaw of the 19th century was Jesse James and his gang. And it goes on to talk about Jesse James and his face on wanted signs, and he was stealing from the banks. And then they go, let's see what they say here. So they say many of the dollars were lost to time, blah, blah, blah. They were melted, they were lost. They talk about he was killed by a member of his own gang in 1882. But if he wasn't killed in 1882, these coins might have been stolen by him if he wasn't dead. And that's what makes them very collectible, is that Jesse James might have stole these coins in 1882. I don't get it. So they're selling these coins for $99.95, so $100 a coin for coins that you could probably go down to your local coin store and buy for $35 or $40. Like I said, if you like this story, go ahead and buy one. It might be fun. But if you think you're buying an investment, it's just crazy. And as I go through here, there's all types of crazy stuff in this magazine. Then here, 1935 Braddock versus Bear. It was supposed to be a cakewalk for heavyweight champion Max Baer. So they're talking about the heavyweight fight in 1935, and then they're selling you a Mercury dime, a Walking Liberty half, and a Buffalo nickel from 1935. What that has to do with the fight, I really don't understand. So you're buying, let's see, 5, 6, you're buying about $7 worth of coins, and they're only charging $79.95 for that. So don't get stuck paying for the story. The story's fun, but the bigger the story, the bigger the markup generally. So be really, really careful. I don't want to say the name of the company. I have in other broadcasts. There's other coins in here. Look who showed up, the latest baby animal series. So here's a coin with a picture of baby owls on it. It's an ounce of silver. So you've got $16 worth of silver for $119. Here's one with a beaver. Oh, but this one's colorized for $120 for $16 worth of silver. And the entire magazine is just coin after coin with story. I have a client that I've dealt with for, I'd say, 6 or 7 years. And I've been to her house at least 3 times. And her husband, in fact, her husband just called and left a message at the office and wants me to go through his wife's coin portfolio so I could tell her which coins she should hold, which ones she should sell. And I had to remind him that we've already done this 3 times in person and several times over the phone. And what will happen is I'll go in and I'll clean up all these crazy coins that are, I mean, really they're little more than bullion. They're just very illiquid. They're not standard bullion coins, so they don't trade as bullion. They're hard to resell. They're not collector coins because they're either modern or they're so common it doesn't really matter. So we go in and we'll buy anywhere from $20,000 to $60,000 worth of coins from her. We hand her a check, and 3 months later, we're back there again buying coins, whatever the latest offering in this magazine is, we're back there buying them again. So, sometimes it's frustrating because I feel like, especially in this case, I go out and I sit down and I show people what's going on. I show them the pricing mechanisms. I show them exactly what's going on. I try and tell them what to watch out for, how to save money, and it just doesn't seem to matter. So, only you can decide how to do this. Only you can take care of your own money. And if you're not going to take care of it, there's nothing I or any other dealer can do for you. But if you get these big catalogs in the mail, I can tell you they're very, very expensive to send out. This catalog, this had to cost them $10, $15 a person to send out. Maybe not, but that's what it looks like to me. So if they send out 100,000 of these catalogs, they've got to make some money on it. It's not that the company's ripping you off. It's not that they're crooks. They've got a big, big overhead to cover to send out this really nice 3-color catalog. But you have to decide, are you buying it just because you like it? Do you think you're actually going to make money on it? I always come back to that. What's your reason for buying it? Is it just for fun? That's one thing. But if you think you're making an investment, it's not going to be by buying stuff on QVC or buying stuff from a catalog that comes in the mail. So again, if you have coins that you bought that way, it's probably worth your time to find out what you really have. The nice thing about the market being down is if you do decide you want to do something different, you do want to be serious about it and put your money into something that has a chance to be an investment, you have the time to do it right now. It's not like it was when the market was going up week after week after week and you had to hurry and sell and buy and get everything done quickly because the market was moving against you. Right now the market's just so flat that you can take your time, you can think about it, and you can set yourself up so that when the market does move, whether it's a year from now or 10 years from now, you can be in a position that you can profit when gold and silver do finally turn around. Now, when are gold and silver going to turn around? I don't know. I was just back east. Took my kids to New York, and I visited relatives in Pennsylvania while I was back there, and every time, it's the same thing every time. My aunts will get around me and they'll say, well, how long have you been doing rare coins? I'll say 35 years. And they say, well, where's gold going? I have no idea. I will tell you, I've mentioned this Clive Mon to you. I haven't mentioned him for probably 4 or 5 months now. He's a chartist, and I'm looking at some of his information. I picked it up before I left the office. But if you're into the technical side and you're looking at the charts, which a lot of people do, the dollar's just on a tear right now. We're just under 100 on the dollar at 99. It wasn't that long ago we were wondering if it was going to break through 85. So the dollar's just the dollar is doing what gold did 10 years ago. It's just constantly going up in price. A big concern right now is deflation. And I know a lot of people buy gold because they're worried about inflation. And I'm not sure that's a valid concern right now because most of the world's really worried about going into a deflationary spiral right now, and that's one of the reasons the dollar is so strong. So as long as the dollar is strong, gold and silver are going to be very weak. I'm looking at some charts here, and nobody knows if the chart's going to hold true, but this Clive Mon is making a pretty darn good case for the dollar going to 120. So if the dollar goes to 120, gold's going to go to $850 an ounce. So if you're sitting on gold, sitting on silver, can I hope you're in a position where you can sit on it and hold it if it goes down to $800 or $700. If silver goes back to $10 an ounce, are you going to be in a position to hold on to it? Are you counting on it going up so you can pay off your credit card bills or retire? If you are, you really need to get a review. You can call the office 480-553-5282 or go to AmericanFederal.com. We'll be glad to do a review of your coins, tell you how they've done so far, tell you what they're likely to do down the road if silver or gold moves up or if they don't move up. There's a lot of ways that you can position yourself right now and still have a possibility of making some money in the market. It's just not nearly as easy when the market's flat or going down as it is when the market's going up. Obviously, when gold's going up week after week, it's really easy to make money. We all look like geniuses. But when the market's going down, that's when it's really tough to make money, and you really have to have somebody who's watching out for you.
Once again, here's Nick Grovich.
Nick Grovich back with you. We have one more segment, and I thought I'd talk a little bit about some things you might be able to do to possibly make some money, even though I don't really believe gold and silver are ready to turn around. I've been saying that for quite a while. Makes me very unpopular to say that. Just everybody wants you to convince them that gold and silver is going up, but I just don't see it happening right now. I don't see anything. Like I said, you could see something happen in the Middle East. Somebody could drop a bomb, or there could be some kind of terrorist attack. But there was a terrorist attack in Tunisia just 2 days ago, and the metals didn't move at all based on that. They moved when Yellen reiterated that they're raising interest rates, but it really had little effect on the markets. So I keep saying get a review. And I think that's the best thing you could do, especially, if you just have Gold Eagles or Krugerrands or Maple Leaf, something like that, you know what you're sitting on. You're just sitting on the price of gold or sitting on gold bullion. You just have to look at the price of gold, decide do you want to be in gold and sit it out, or do you want to cash out and do something else with your money? That's something only you can decide. I can't decide that for you. Everyone's looking at gold and thinking it has to turn around. The dollars, people think the dollar's worthless, and I guess overall it probably is. But right now it's awfully strong, and everyone in the world's buying dollars. And that's what they're buying in Europe. They're buying them in Asia, and the dollar is really strong for the time being. So it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter that we think the dollar's buying power is 5 cents compared to what it was in the 30s. For right now, what's affecting the market is the global market. The global market likes the dollar, which is bad for gold and silver. But there's some things, earlier Roger called about rhodium. And I'm not going to say go out and sell everything and buy rhodium, but I like rhodium. It's something that 10 years ago was very, very difficult to trade in because you had to buy powder. And it was really hard to trade a little vial of powder. And, it was very hard to trade it just physically. It was hard to take delivery and go back and forth with it because every time it went to somebody's hands, you had to have it reassayed and retested. And it was just a royal pain in the neck. I did a deal years ago where a guy had quite a bit of rhodium powder, and it took a long time. It took a really long time, and we got such a discount from what the price was. I felt bad for him. I don't remember what the price was, but we probably were lucky to get half of what the price of rhodium was. Well, now they make a bar, so you can actually buy a little 1 ounce bar of rhodium, which makes it a lot easier to trade. But I think what Roger was looking at is if you go back and look at the charts, and I don't have the charts in front of me, so I might have my years, they might be off a little bit, but I think it was around 2001, 2002. Rhodium got up to $11,000 or $12,000 an ounce, and everyone says, well, what made it go there? Well, what happened was one of the big three automakers got a new purchasing agent, And that agent decided that instead of having a 3-month supply of rhodium, they use rhodium in diesel engine catalytic converters. They have to have rhodium to make the catalytic converter. And they decided they were going to have a 6-month supply on hand instead of a 3-month supply. And just adding a 3-month supply to their inventory made the price go from $700 to $11,000. So if you were sitting on rhodium when that happened, you made a killing. So I mean, it's almost like buying Iraqi dinar. If it happens, you're going to get rich, but there's not a great chance it's going to happen. The payoff's going to be big, but you might sit on it for 30 years or 20 years, which is why Roger's in his 30s. He can afford to sit back and wait on it. If you're 70 or 80 years old, you're just really rolling the dice. Maybe you get lucky, maybe you don't. But, if you have a lot of gold, you have a lot of silver, you have $10,000 you want to gamble with a little bit, so you put it in rhodium. If it goes down, it's probably not going to go much less than $700 an ounce. But if it goes up and it goes to $10,000 or $11,000 an ounce, you look like a hero. You look like a genius. Same thing happened to palladium years ago. Palladium is actually much, much more rare than platinum. And they use palladium now for catalytic converters too. And years ago, again, I've got my years kind of mixed up, but I want to say the late 1990s, palladium was around $200 an ounce, and platinum was give or take $700 or $800 an ounce. So the boys in Detroit thought, well, we can use palladium instead of platinum. They're both platinum group metals. So they switched their process. They switched over to palladium because they were going to save $600 an ounce by using the palladium. Well, by the time 6 months went by, they found out it didn't matter what the price was. They could not buy enough palladium. There just simply isn't enough palladium around to produce all the catalytic converters that they needed to make. And palladium went to $1,100 an ounce, while platinum was still $700 or $800 an ounce. So their palladium, that's the only time I know of where palladium actually was worth more than platinum. So the car company scrambled. They went back to using platinum. Now they use a combination of both palladium and platinum. That's why you're seeing palladium is held up really, out of all the metals, palladium has held up the best of all four of the metals since gold dropped from $1,900. Palladium's still today in the high 700s, and it peaked out around $900 an ounce. So all these, I think they're more strategic metals. I think that's where some money's going to be made over the next 5 to 10 years. I'm not convinced it's going to be gold and silver. Should you still own gold and silver? I think if you own it as a core position, you just have it as something you stick under the bed just in case. I think it's a great thing to own. I'm not sure I would push it to just go out and buy gold and think it's going to $5,000. There's a lot of newsletters. I read them every day. They're still predicting $5,000 gold and $7,000 gold. Maybe someday it goes there. But remember, after it dropped in 1979, 1980, it took 30 years for it to get back to where it was. So it's not a sure deal. I think if you're looking for some ways to make money in the next 5 years, maybe speculate a little bit on palladium and platinum. I like platinum the best. Another thing you can do that we've talked about before are some of the dated gold eagles, the half-ounce gold eagles in particular. I like to buy coins that were worth a lot to collectors when the market was good, but I like to buy them for just the gold price. So, for example, I've talked about this once before, a 1986 or 1999 $25 gold eagle. Today you can buy that coin for under $700, probably closer to $600 than $700 today. And you're just going to buy it based on what the price of gold is. Going back as recently as October or November, that coin was a coin that wholesaled for $1,000 a coin. And it had a half an ounce of gold in it, so it did have $650 worth of gold in it, but it was considered a collectible at that time. And the dealers were really pushing those coins, or pushing the sets. They were pushing 16 different dates of the half-ounce gold eagles as rare coins. So if you can go buy those coins today and buy them as gold, If gold goes down, yeah, you're gonna see a discount to what you bought, but it's probably the safest way to get involved. You're not taking the risk of paying a big premium for the coins. And I can tell you the dealers are not going to just give up on that idea. They made an awful lot of money when they were selling those coins as rare coins. It's just when gold goes down, business dries up. So for the time being, nobody wants to take on inventory. Nobody wants to buy the coins and take a chance on them while sales are down. So if you're going to buy gold or silver, I'd buy some of the older date eagles, specifically the half-ounce and quarter-ounce gold eagles. I'd buy the older date silver eagles if you could buy them without paying a big premium over silver, because the dealers are going to get back in there and they're going to promote those coins. And I don't know too many coins that I would be comfortable telling you that you have a chance to make 40 or 50% on. But I do believe that if you look at these eagle coins right now. So that's where I'd put money right now if I wanted to bet on some of these coins. Go into some of the strategic metals, a little rhodium, a little palladium, maybe some platinum, and I would go a little more heavily. If you have gold that's not doing anything, go into the eagles.